they became pirates, but Anne left her colonialist husband James in the Bahamas to run off with the pirate Calico Jack Rackham. And while at sea, they took over a ship, where Mary Read was dressed in men's clothes. In fact, Mary had been dressed as in boys' clothes since her birth, because her mother wanted her husband to think that she was giving birth to a son, so that she'd inherit the money when they died, because women couldn't inherit money. And Anne only found out the truth about Mary when she caught her undressing, and Calico Jack was at first rather disturbed by the fact all this time that that Anne was spending with this nice young sailor, until he found out they were both women. There's an unconfirmed story that Calico Jack found them in bed together, but if they were gay, they were certainly bisexual, because when they were captured, they were able to escape a hanging because both happened to be pregnant. And yeah, you may have noticed that by now we're in the 18th century, the age of reason, the Enlightenment. I'm afraid I'm going to skim over all the interesting GLB people in the 18th century, such as like Voltaire, the bisexual poet, Lord Byron. Voltaire had a crush on Frederick the Great, strangely enough. The lesbian Queen Anne of England, and the bisexual early feminist Mary Wollstonecraft, and instead underscore what was happening in the world of ideas. Because, you see, one other thing that I didn't mention about the Renaissance was that it actually, in some places, it actually helped to intensify. This new modern thought helped to intensify homophobia. They made it a lot more systematic, the way they had an inquisition against gay men. People were still being burned alive for buggery in the 18th century in England, France, and Amsterdam. One famous incident was the 1726 raid on Mother Clapp's Molly House in England. This is actually a cartoon about Mother Clapp's Molly House. Molly was an effeminate gay man, and there was this vice raid of this extremely luxurious gay club in male brothel, run by a very business-minded heterosexual married woman, Mother Clapp, and it ended in 40 arrests and 3 hangings. Okay, but yeah, the age of reason, it was. Yeah, although people may, in America like to say, our founding fathers were good Christian men, they weren't Christian, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, they were deists. They believed that reason and logic, rather than traditional revelation, was the path to finding God. And that was like a popular kind of idea among a lot of the upper classes back then. It was, so like, political thinkers were starting to move away from, like, knowing that the Bible said was against homosexuality and thinking for themselves. Like, although, Voltaire alternately defended and condemned the more out and scandalous men that he was seen with, French philosophers like Diderot started to approach homosexuality not as a sin but as a harmless medical problem. Okay, it's one step up. And Jeremy Bentham, one of the founders of utilitarianism, which was an ethical system that said that morals depended on doing the greatest possible good to the greatest number of people, argued powerfully for the acceptance of homosexuality in an essay called On Pederasty. And, but both philosophers were too nervous about the consequences of publishing their ideas to do that until after their deaths. But still, the ground was actually changing. Like, after the French Revolution, France became the first European country to get rid of its sodomy laws. Singapore was only 215 years behind.
And counting.
Okay, well, this didn't mean that when people were welcoming of homosexuality. Like, Marie Antoinette is one of the lesser-known celebrities who were associated with lesbianism. Although married to Louis XVI, who was impotent, Marie experienced fast, passionate friendships and infatuations with court ladies and opera singers, such as the Princess of Lamballe. Although it's unlikely that she was a practicing lesbian, the people of France who were pissed off at the rich accused Marie of importing from her native Austria the sin of tribadism, lampooned with stories about her heading orgies festooned with dildos. So when the royals had already given up power in 1789 during the first wave of the Revolution, and they were imprisoned. And Marie had actually written letters to the Princess of Lambao telling her to get away, get to safety, because she feared for the lives of the nobles. But the princess returned to Paris to be with her royal mistress. And in 1792, a drunken mob storms the courtyard of the prison where the queen was imprisoned, dragging a naked headless trunk with severed genitals, and on a pike, the head of the Princess of Lambao. A year later, the queen herself was executed by guillotine. And strangely enough, the court, which condemned her, well, rather than associating itself with thoughts of lesbianism, claims that she had misled politics by encouraging false rumors of her lesbianism herself. Well, let's get out of the 18th century and move to the 19th century. Yeah. I mean, people call it the Victorian age, and it's associated with sexual repression, but it's I think of it as really modern, because it was a time when like all these new technologies and ideas were coming into flower. Steam power, communism, railways, electricity, women's rights, photography. This meant more and more choices, so men and women of more and more classes were able to live alone rather than with families. For some, like the poet Walt Whitman, it meant that he could wander around in the fields of America, like playing the original gay cowboy, volunteering as a medic in the American Civil War, and singing the glory of the male body. For others, like Emily Dickinson, it meant you could like stay in a room of your own and in your house, pining for Susan Gilbert, the friend who was your deep friend who went and married your brother instead. Yeah, like her letters are like really beautiful to Susan after that. And for some, like Florence Nightingale, it meant that you could lead an independent, unmarried life as a nurse, a hospital administrator, and a statistician. Most people don't know she invented the pie chart. And a critic of the British civil service and supporter of Indian nationalism. While noting that to one of her close female friends, "I have lived and slept in the same bed with English countesses and Prussian farm women. No woman has excited passions among women more than I have." For a few like James Barry, it meant Dr. James Barry. It meant graduating from medical school as a teenager, fighting in the Battle of Waterloo, serving in Malta, Trinidad and Tobago, South Africa, Jamaica, even a stint in the Scutari where he had a big argument with Florence Nightingale, and performing one of the first known cesarean sections, and only having people discover on your death that you were biologically a woman. Yeah, probably called Miranda Stewart. And people were continuing to think in the objectively, well, in terms of the new science of anthropology. This was particularly popular in America because, as the Native American tribes were getting more and more threatened, well, people went like, "Hey, they're dying out. Let's study them." And one of the customs that they noted was the institution of the Berdache. Werewolf was a Berdache of the Zuni tribe. She was known as physically and emotionally the strongest of them all, particularly skilled at blanket weaving, and she acted as their delegate in Washington, D.C., where she was admired popularly as an Indian princess in her native costume. What the anthropologists and the tribe knew was that she was born as a man. The Zunis, like many other Native American tribes, did not see gender as an inborn trait, but as something that we realize ourselves. And in the 19th century, something else was invented: gay activism. The sexologist Karl Heinrich Ulrich stood up in the middle of the Prussian court where paragraph 175 was, which was condemning homosexual acts, was introduced, and he identified himself as a Uranian, one of many men and women who had both male and female spirits in their characters. Magnus Hirschfeld, a doctor, formed the first gay rights organization, the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, and he gathered signatures against the anti-homosexual laws from people including Thomas Mann, Leo Tolstoy, Emile Zola, and Albert Einstein. He produced the first gay film about a homosexual violinist whose life is ruined by a blackmailer, and established a gay rights center called the Institute of Sexual Science and the World League for Sexual Reform, which boasted 130,000 members by 1923, and this was before email, remember. And Edward Carpenter took gay activism to a new level. From an upper-class family, he went and moved in with his working-class lover, Albert Farnham, who was married to, and lived together with Albert and Albert's wife, and claimed that homogenic love, as he preferred to call it,